Welcome to Swirl AI Search, the podcast that dives deep into the world of enterprise AI search. Discover how to unlock the value hidden within your internal data and accelerate your journey to actionable insights. Let's cut through the noise and find out how you can get the most out of your internal information. As befitting a podcast about AI, this episode was created with the help of Notebook LM. Please enjoy the Swirl AI Search podcast.
When we talk to business leaders like you, one of the things we hear over and over again is this struggle to keep up with all the data you have to manage. Like it's not just the sheer volume of it, but that it's just everywhere. Trying to pull it all together just seems like, I don't know, a logistical nightmare, not to mention a huge security risk.
Oh, absolutely. It really is the classic data dilemma, right? You've got customer information in your CRM system, financial records in your ERP, marketing data spread across who knows how many platforms.
Mhm.
Then you add on all the unstructured data like emails and documents and chat logs all over employee devices and cloud storage. It's enough to make anyone dizzy.
And then on top of that, there's all this pressure to, be using AI to get insights from your data. But that traditional approach, that extract, transform, load, the ETL, it just seems like throwing gasoline on the fire. Expensive, time-consuming, and then you're just creating this massive security risk by moving all that sensitive data around.
Yeah, it's almost like you're building this high-speed highway for hackers right through the heart of your most valuable assets. We keep hearing about these huge data breaches, and increasingly, AI is becoming a really powerful tool for cybercriminals to exploit that stolen information. It's like AI is this double-edged sword.
So how do we, as business leaders, find that balance? We need to use AI to stay competitive, but we also have to protect our data. It's like being stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well, and this is what I think is so fascinating. There's this new approach emerging, and it might just offer us a way out of that dilemma. It's called Zero ETL, and the idea is basically to bring the AI to the data instead of the other way around.
Okay, now that you have my attention, so tell me more about this Zero ETL. How does that even work?
So imagine instead of moving all of your data to one central location for analysis, what if you had AI algorithms that could just access and analyze that data wherever it lives? No need to copy it, transform it, no need to create this big, vulnerable central repository. It's a complete paradigm shift.
So the AI goes on this little data treasure hunt across all our systems. Like I'm picturing like little AI robots scurrying through our databases and spreadsheets.
Aha! Not quite robots, but you've got the right idea.
Hmm.
So the AI models are designed to work with data in its native format, wherever it is, structured data in a database, unstructured text in an email. The AI can pull insights from it without ever having to move the data itself.
Okay, this is starting to sound pretty interesting, but how does this Zero EPL address those security concerns we were talking about? Does it really eliminate the risks that come with moving data around?
That's really the key point here. By getting rid of that need to move data, you dramatically reduce your attack surface. There's no central honeypot for hackers to go after, and you can keep your existing security protocols in place around each individual data source.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we know this Zero ETL approach is effective? Are there any real-world examples of companies actually using this?
There are, and this is where things get really interesting. We've been looking at a company called Swirl, and they seem to be leading the charge in this Zero ETL AI search technology.
Yeah, Swirl caught my eye too. What's different about their approach? I'm really interested in how they handle the security piece of this.
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me was that Swirl gives you total control over where your data stays and how it's accessed. So their platform, you can deploy it in your private cloud, or you can even keep it on premises. Your data never has to leave your environment.
Okay, so that takes care of the data residency issue. But what about the security of the AI system itself? We don't want to create a whole new vulnerability while we're trying to solve this data movement problem.
That's a really crucial point. It seems like Swirl has thought this through carefully. Their system is designed to integrate with your existing security infrastructure, so it uses your current authentication, authorization, and encryption protocols. You're not adding this whole extra layer of complexity, not creating these brand new vulnerabilities. You're just extending your existing security to cover the AI analysis as well.
That's good to hear. But I have to ask, what about those situations where data security is absolutely mission critical?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about things like highly sensitive information, government agencies, organizations that operate in highly regulated industries. Can Zero ETL really handle those kinds of demands?
It's a great question, and one that Swirl seems to have anticipated. So, for incredibly sensitive data or those environments where security is paramount, their platform can actually operate on air-gapped systems.
Air-gapped systems. That sounds pretty intense. Can you break that down for our listeners who might not be familiar with that term?
Sure. So an air-gapped system is basically a computer or network that's completely isolated from any outside networks, including the internet. Think of it like a digital vault, no doors, no windows. And that level of isolation, it provides the ultimate protection against cyber attacks because there's simply no way for an attacker to remotely access the data.
So even in the most secure environments where data absolutely cannot leave the premises, Zero ETL AI search could still be an option.
That's exactly right. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about this technology. It's not just about convenience or efficiency. It's about opening up these new possibilities for data analysis, but without sacrificing security.
This is all starting to sound pretty impressive, but let's get practical for a minute. Beyond security, what are the real-world benefits of this Zero ETL approach for a business leader? What's the bottom line?
Well, I think one of the most immediate benefits is the potential for some serious cost savings. Think about all the time, money, and resources you're currently spending on those ETL processes. Building the infrastructure, managing those data pipelines, troubleshooting errors, making sure everything's compliant. It all adds up.
That's a great point. Time is money, right? And ETL can be a huge drain on both, but I imagine there are some benefits in terms of insights as well, being able to analyze all of your data no matter where it's stored.
Exactly. Think
And
about all the valuable insights that are hidden in your data right now simply because it's scattered across these different systems, locked away in silos. Zero ETL breaks those silos down. It gives you this holistic view of your business. And that ability to analyze all of your data, not just a fraction of it, can lead to more accurate, more nuanced, and ultimately much more valuable insights.
okay, now I'm really starting to see the bigger picture, but let's go back to our listener for a moment. Imagine you're a business leader. You're concerned about data security. You're facing this mountain of data that's just difficult to analyze, and you're probably feeling a bit overwhelmed by just the sheer pace of technological change these days. What's the key takeaway? Why should you even care about this Zero ETL thing?
The key takeaway here is that Zero ETL AI search gives you a way to use the power of AI to get those insights from your data, but without having to compromise on security. And you're not adding yet another layer of complexity on top of your already complicated data infrastructure. It's about making AI work for you on your terms, but mitigating all those risks and headaches that come with traditional data management.
It sounds like we're talking about a pretty fundamental shift in how businesses can approach data analytics. And for those of us who are feeling a bit overwhelmed by that data deluge, this could be a real lifeline.
I think it's a real game changer. And, like any new technology, there's going to be a learning curve. But the potential benefits, the security, the efficiency, the insights, they're just too big to ignore. One of the things that I find really exciting about Zero ETL is that it's not just some theoretical concept. It's actually being used out there in the real world across all kinds of industries, and the results are pretty impressive.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me some concrete examples. How are companies actually using this technology to, solve real-world problems?
Okay, sure. Let's start with something that a lot of businesses can probably relate to, which is customer churn. So imagine you're a financial institution, right? You've got millions of customers. You've got data about their transactions, their account balances, loan applications, credit scores, you name it. Customer service interactions, even in their social media activity. If you wanted to try to predict which customers are likely to churn, traditionally that would be a very, very complex and time-consuming process.
Right. You'd probably have to build this massive data warehouse, hire a whole team of data scientists, spend months just cleaning and preparing the data before you can even start to run any analysis. And by then, the insights might already be obsolete.
Exactly. But with Zero ETL, you can skip all of that. The AI can just analyze the data right where it is in those source systems, and it can do it in real time. So it can start to identify those patterns, those anomalies that might be early warning signs that a customer is thinking about leaving.
So instead of just reacting after a customer's already gone, you can be proactive, right? You can intervene, try to keep them from going to a competitor.
That's the power of predictive analytics. And Zero ETL makes that power much more accessible, much more actionable.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling use case. What about other industries? Can you give me an example of how this might be used in a totally different sector, like healthcare, for example?
Sure. So let's say you're running a hospital and you want to improve patient care. You want to be able to identify patients who are at high risk for developing certain conditions. You've got electronic health records, lab results, imaging data, doctor's notes, even genomic information. But all of that is stored in these different systems, often with incompatible formats.
I can already see the challenge there. Just getting all that data together in a format you can actually use for analysis would be a nightmare, not to mention all the privacy and security issues.
Exactly. But a zero ETL approach could allow you to train AI models to analyze all of that data right where it lives, no need to move it or copy it. The AI could identify patterns, risk factors, things that a human clinician might miss, and that could allow for much earlier intervention, more personalized treatment plans.
Wow. That's some seriously powerful stuff. And it makes it clear that zero ETL isn't just about efficiency or cost savings, right?
Yeah.
It's about getting insights that can actually make a difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. And these are just two examples. The potential applications are almost limitless, and we're really just starting to explore what's possible here.
This all sounds very futuristic, but I have to ask, is this zero ETL really ready for prime time? Is this something companies can actually use today, or is this more of a theoretical idea?
Oh, it's definitely moving beyond theory. Companies like Swirl, for example, they're already offering real solutions that allow businesses to implement zero ETL AI search. They've already done all the hard work, developed the algorithms, built the platform, addressed all those security concerns.
So if someone's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, this sounds amazing, but I have no idea where to even begin, what would you advise them to do? What's that first step toward figuring out if zero ETL makes sense for their business?
Well, I think the first step is to really understand what your data landscape looks like. Where is all your data? What kind of data do you have? What are your business challenges? What are you trying to achieve? What are your security and compliance requirements? Once you have a good handle on all of that, then you can start looking at the different zero ETL AI search solutions out there and figure out which one is the best fit.
So take a strategic approach. Figure out how your data strategy fits into your overall business goals, and then find the right technology partner to help you get there.
Exactly. And it's important to keep in mind that this is a really rapidly evolving field. There are new solutions coming out all the time, so you really need to stay on top of things.
Okay, so do your homework, find the right solution, and then get ready to unlock the power of your data in a way that's both secure and efficient. That sounds like a pretty good plan. But before we move on, I want to circle back to that point you made earlier about the security implications of AI. We talked a lot about how zero ETL can reduce the risks that come with moving data around, but is it like a silver bullet when it comes to data security?
Well, like with anything else, there's no such thing as perfect security. Any system that's connected to a network has some level of vulnerability. But by taking data movement out of the equation, zero ETL definitely reduces your attack surface and minimizes the risk of exposure.
That's reassuring. But it probably still makes sense to have other strong security measures in place, right? Things like encryption, access controls, intrusion detection systems.
Oh, absolutely. Zero ETL is a really powerful tool, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. You still need to have solid security policies, regular audits, and really a culture of security awareness within your organization.
So it's not a set it and forget it solution. It's more about taking a multi-layered approach, and zero ETL is just one of the layers.
That's a great way to put it. And as AI continues to evolve, as it becomes more and more integrated into everything we do, approaches like zero ETL are going to become even more critical for protecting those valuable data assets.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about the challenges of modern data, the risks of traditional ETL, the promise of zero ETL AI search, even some real-world examples.
Yeah, and we've really just scratched the surface. There's so much more to dig into in this space.
Exactly. But I think we've given our listeners a good starting point to think about how they can take advantage of this technology.
I agree. And I always encourage our listeners to do their own deep dive into this. There are tons of resources out there, online articles, industry publications, research papers, even podcasts like ours that can help you stay informed and ahead of the game.
And with that, let's shift gears a bit. I want to explore some of the broader implications of this whole zero ETL revolution. We've talked about the benefits for businesses, but what about the bigger picture? How could this technology change the way we think about data and AI in the future? As we've been talking about zero ETL and just all the potential it has, I keep thinking about the bigger picture. We've been focusing a lot on the benefits for businesses, which are huge, obviously, but it feels like this technology could have even broader implications, like for society as a whole. What do you think?
That's a really great point. And yeah, I totally agree. I think if we kind of zoom out a little bit, and look beyond just those immediate business use cases, I think Zero ETL has the potential to really democratize access to AI and data analysis. And that's
Yeah.
something we haven't really seen before.
Democratize. I like the sound of that. What do you mean by that, though?
Well, I think traditionally the ability to use those really sophisticated AI tools and data analytics, that's been pretty much limited to big organizations, the ones with a lot of resources. They're the ones that can build the infrastructure, hire the data scientists, and deal with all the complexities of traditional data warehousing and ETL. Smaller businesses, startups, nonprofits, even individual researchers, they've often been priced out of that game.
So are you saying that Zero ETL could change that, make those tools accessible to a much wider range of users?
That's exactly it. By eliminating the need for all that expensive infrastructure, the specialized expertise, it really lowers the barriers to entry. Organizations of all sizes, even individuals, can start to tap into the power of their data, get those insights, make better decisions, and hopefully drive more innovation.
That's a pretty exciting idea. I mean, I can imagine a world where small businesses are using AI to personalize marketing campaigns, nonprofits are optimizing how they allocate resources, researchers are accelerating scientific discoveries, all by analyzing these huge data sets without needing access to supercomputers or anything.
Yeah, those are all fantastic examples. And I think as this technology gets adopted more widely, we're going to see even more creative, maybe unexpected applications. It's like we're giving people a superpower, anyone who has data and wants to understand it better.
Yeah, it's kind of like the early days of the internet, right?
Mm.
Suddenly, anyone could publish content and reach a global audience. It feels like Zero ETL could have that same kind of democratizing effect on data and AI.
That's a great analogy. And just like the internet led to this explosion of creativity and innovation, I think Zero ETL could do the same thing, but for data-driven insights and applications.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. But we've talked about the security, the efficiency, the potential for deeper insights, even that of democratizing impact. But I think the big takeaway here is that we are at the very beginning of a major transformation in how we use data, how we collect it, analyze it, leverage it, and Zero ETL is leading the way.
I couldn't agree more. This technology has the potential to really reshape entire industries. It's going to unlock possibilities that we can only dream about right now.
So to everyone out there, all the business leaders, the entrepreneurs, the researchers, the data enthusiasts, I really encourage you to embrace this change. Explore what's possible with Zero ETL. And join us as we head into the future of data and AI. Who knows what incredible discoveries are waiting for us?